Hare Krishna, it's May 11th, 2025. Today's the appearance day of Lord Nrsimhadeva. And um, we'll read something from the seventh canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, seventh canto, chapter 8. It's entitled Lord Nrsimhadeva Slays the King of the Demons. So the seventh canto, so Lord Nrsimhadeva is especially associated with his special devotee Prahlad Maharaj. Or I would say Prahlad Maharaj is associated with the incarnation of Krishna, Lord Nrsimhadev, Ete Chamsa Klapumsa, Krishnastu Bhagavan Svayam. Krishna is not an incarnation, Krishna is the incarnate, and one of his forms of incarnation is this half man, half lion form, Lord Nrsimhadev. The seventh canto, really the whole 15 chapters centers on Lord Nrsimhadev and Prahlad Maharaj. And the first 10 chapters especially, and then the last 5 chapters are like, yeah, conversations that Prahlad Maharaj is involved in, philosophical conversations. And so this is chapter 8. This is kind of coming to the conclusion of it's quite a dramatic saga and what goes on before here, and we might touch on that some now, maybe some this evening at the home of Naveen and Madhavi. So this is Srila Prabhupada's summary to chapter 8 of Canto 7. As described in this chapter, Hiranyakashipu was ready to kill his own son Prahlad Maharaj. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared in front of the demon as Sri Nrikeshari, half lion and half man, and killed him. Following the instructions of Prahlad Maharaj, all the sons of the demons became attached to Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When this attachment became pronounced, their teachers, Sanda and Amarka, were very much afraid that the boys would become more and more devoted to the Lord. In a helpless condition, they approached Hiranyakashipu and described in detail the effect of Prahlad's preaching. After hearing of this, Hiranyakashipu decided to kill his son Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu was so angry that Prahlad Maharaj fell down at his feet and said many things just to pacify him, but he was unsuccessful in satisfying his demoniac father. Hiranyakashipu was so angry that Prahlad Maharaj, Hiranyakashipu, as a typical demon, began to advertise himself as being greater than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Prahlad Maharaj challenged him, saying that Hiranyakashipu was not God, and began to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, declaring that the Lord is all-pervading, that everything is under him, and that no one is equal to or greater than him. Thus he requested his father to be submissive to the omnipotent Supreme Lord. The more Prahlad Maharaj glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the more angry and agitated the demon became. Hiranyakashipu asked his Vaishnav son whether his God existed within the columns of the palace, and Prahlad Maharaj immediately accepted that since the Lord is present everywhere, he was also present within the columns. When Hiranyakashipu heard this philosophy from his young son, he derided the boy's statement as just the talk of a child and forcefully struck the pillar with his fist. As soon as Hiranyakashipu struck the column, there issued forth a tumultuous sound. At first, Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, could not see anything but the pillar, but to substantiate Prahlad's statements, the Lord came out of the pillar in his wonderful incarnation as Nrsimha, half lion and half man. Hiranyakashipu could immediately understand that the extraordinarily wonderful form of the Lord was surely meant for his death, and thus he prepared to fight with the form of half lion and half man. The Lord performed his pastimes by fighting with the demon for some time, and in the evening, on the border between day and night, the Lord captured the demon, threw him on his lap, and killed him by piercing his abdomen with his nails. The Lord not only killed Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, but also killed many of his followers. When there was no one else to fight, the Lord, whirring with anger, sat down on Hiranyakashipu's throne. The entire universe was thus relieved of the rule of Hiranyakashipu, and everyone was jubilant in transcendental bliss. Then all the demigods headed by Lord Brahma approached the Lord. These included the great saintly persons, the Pitas, the Siddhas, the Vidyadharas, the Nagas, the Manus, the Prajapatis, the Gandharvas, the Charanas, the Yakshas, the Kimpurushas, the Vaitalikas, the Kinnaras, and also many other varieties of beings in human form. All of them stood not far from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and began offering their prayers unto the Lord, whose spiritual effulgence was brilliant as he sat on the throne. Text one reads, Shri Narada Uvacha Atadaitya Sutta Sarve Shrutvatadanuvarnitam Jagrihur Niravadyatvan Naivagurvanushikshitam. Narada Muni continued, all the sons of the demons appreciated the transcendental instructions of Prahlad Maharaj and took them very seriously. They rejected the materialistic instructions given by their teachers, Sanda and Amarka. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is the effect of the preaching of a pure devotee like Prahlad Maharaj. If a devotee is qualified, sincere, and serious about Krishna consciousness, and if he follows the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master, as Prahlad Maharaj did when preaching the instructions he had received from Narada Muni, his preaching is effective, as it is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, Text 25. Satam prasanga mama virya sambido bhavanti vitkarnarasaya nakata. If one tries to understand the discourses given by the Sat, or pure devotees, those instructions will be very pleasing to the ear and appealing to the heart. Thus, if one is inspired to take to Krishna consciousness, and if one practices the process in his life, he is surely successful in returning home back to Godhead. By the grace of Prahlad Maharaj, all his class friends, the sons of the demons, became Vaishnavas. They did not like hearing from their so-called teachers, Sanda and Amarka, who were interested only in teaching them about diplomacy, politics, economic development, and similar topics meant exclusively for sense gratification. So some context. And so Hiranyakashipu, well, I mean, there's the context going back to the third canto. Hiranyakashipu's brother's name was Hiranyaksha, and he was always this kind of great destructive personality, a very powerful demoniac personality. And Krishna appeared as Lord Varahadev, a Krishna in the form of a boar, a hog incarnation, described in the third canto. And okay, so this was a Vishnu form. So Hiranyakashipu, he's very bitterly vengeful towards Krishna or Vishnu for killing his brother. And so he wants to become very powerful, and he does great austerities, great austerities, and becomes very powerful. And even the demigods were fearing him. So he was practically controlling the whole universe. He was so powerful. It's described about, well, if we look at his name, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranya means gold, and Kashipu is this. This is a Kashipu, a soft cushion. So his whole idea was to enjoy and control and with soft cushions and gold. Okay, and it's described that because he could not control his senses drove him to try to control the entire universe. And he was successful. and he still wasn't satisfied. It's like the quintessential materialist. Material consciousness means I want to control everything and everyone. That's material consciousness, right? Then our frustration is the universe, including other entities, they're not complying with my control plan. Okay, so compared to Hiranyakashipu, we're very unsuccessful materialists. We just got this like puny sphere of control, but really we want to control all the planetary systems, the whole thing. That's material life. And so Hiranyakashipu, he was successful. So it's some subtleties. His senses drove him to control the entire universe. So he couldn't control the senses, and so he actually succeeded to control the entire universe, still wasn't satisfied, because it's like a fish out of water, just in material life. With those aims, we're not going to be satisfied. At the same time, it's not like he was this decadent sense enjoyer. He did incredible austerities, and the details are given. But his austerities were for demoniac purposes. Okay, just like Srila Prabhupada gives the example of Joseph Stalin. That, of course, Joseph Stalin may be one of the biggest demoniac forces of the 20th century, maybe number one, like that. He killed so many people, power, control, and like that. Same time, it's described that when he had some surgery done on his stomach, and he didn't accept anesthesia. Okay, so meaning he was so absorbed in his purpose that like he was able to tolerate the pain. He was able to tolerate the pain. Of course, his purpose was not at all godly. His purpose was about big ego, material ego like that. But he did austerity and became powerful. So Hiranyakashipu was the quintessential example of that. And so even he was controlling the demigods, they were bowing down before him. And so he was controlling everything except his little son. So actually, and just a bit more of the context, there's many chapters to this, but so when Hiranyakashipu was away doing these great austerities for like thousands of years, okay, long time, his wife was pregnant, and the demigods captured, demigods kind of invaded the kingdom he had and captured her. And they could see, this child in the embryonic form is going to be a demon just like his father. They were going to do an abortion. They were going to kill him, the child in the womb. But Narada Muni came along and said, no, this is a special person. This is a special devotional personality. Don't do that. Okay. So then the wife of Hiranyakashipu, the mother Prahlad, is at Narada Muni's ashram. And Narada Muni speaks to her Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, transcendental philosophy. And it's not clear how much she absorbs. It's not so clear, maybe not much. But so Prahlad was hearing from within the womb, right? So this transcendental vibration, Krishna consciousness, it's not dependent on any material condition. The spirit soul in the womb completely absorbed and got it in all its subtlety. All right, so then he's born and grows up in the palace. He's the prized member of the whole kingdom, the prince, like that. So Hiranyakashipu but then he sees that Prahlad is like chanting Hare Krishna. He's like, where did you learn this? And there's one chapter, Hiranyakashipu gets like furious with the teachers named Sandana Marka. Like, why are you teaching him this? Like, that he's glorifying the killer of my brother. Why are you teaching him, to be a Vishnu Bhakta, a Krishna Bhakta? And they said, we didn't do it. We didn't know. We're just teaching him like how to manipulate and political control and economics and deception. we don't know where he picked up all this garbage. We're just teaching him Machiavellian type of, um, divide and conquer like that. And how did he get this? Of course, he heard it when he was in the womb, but they couldn't understand that. So then Hiranyakashipu sees that the teachers are being honest. They didn't teach him this, like chant Hare Krishna, offer your food to Krishna, and like that. So Prahlad's doing all this bhakti. So then he gets really angry at Prahlad. And then there's a few back and forth. And at one point, yeah, Hiranyakashipu, so then he thinks he's rectified his son he thinks he's deprogrammed him. And then he calls Prahlad back, and at one point he says to Prahlad, okay, what's the best, most exciting thing you learned in school today? And Prahlad said, oh, the best thing I've learned is Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Bandhanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam Iti Pushpar Pita Vishnu Bhaktischinna Valakshana Kriyata Bhagavat Yada Tanmanye Ditamutamam. It says, yeah, the best thing we can do with the human form of life is kirtan, chant about Vishnu and Krishna, and engage in the 9 processes of devotional service. And this is a truly wise life. It's like that wasn't the answer that Dad wanted to hear. You're glorifying the killer of your uncle. What are you doing here? Okay, so the Hiranyakashipu attempts to kill him in many ways, but Prahlad's always protected in a mystical way by Krishna. And the details are given in previous chapters. So then, okay, one more chance at rectification. Hiranyakashipu and the teachers think they've rectified Prahlad after a few attempts. And then, okay, but then Prahlad commits much more serious offenses. So he's at school, and during recess, when the teachers aren't there, Prahlad gathers all the children around him and just inspires them in Krishna consciousness. So now it's just like, now they're saying it's not just him, he's contaminating everyone. He's contaminating everyone. And you're ruining the whole country here. You're ruining the whole country, the whole future. And the children, of course, they're like, blissful in Krishna consciousness and kirtan and Bhagavatam. And so now we're entering into kind of this chapter here. Okay. And text 2, Attacharya Sutastesham Buddhim Ekanta Samstitam Alaksha Bitas Tvarito Ragya Ave Dayadyata. When Sanda Namarka, that's the teachers, the sons of Shukracharya, observed that all the students, the sons of the demons, were becoming advanced in Krishna consciousness because of the association with Prahlad Maharaj, they were afraid. They approached the king of the demons and described the situation as it was. When Hiranyakashipu understood the entire situation, he was extremely angry, so much so that his body trembled. Thus, he finally decided to kill his son Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu was by nature very cruel, and feeling insulted, he began hissing like a snake trampled upon by someone's foot. His son Prahlad was peaceful, mild, and gentle. His senses were under control, and he stood before Hiranyakashipu with folded hands. Yet, with staring crooked eyes, Hiranyakashipu rebuked him. According to Prahlad's age and behavior, he was not to be chastised. Yet with staring crooked eyes, Hiranyakashipu rebuked him with the following harsh words. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When one is impudent toward a highly authorized devotee, one is punished by the laws of nature. The duration of his life is diminished, and he loses the blessings of superior persons and the results of pious activities. Hiranyakashipu, for example, had achieved such great power in the material world that he could subdue practically all the planetary systems in the universe, including the heavenly planet Svargaloka. Yet now, because of his mistreatment of such a Vaishnava as Prahlad Maharaj, all the results of his tapasya diminished. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 4, Text 46, Ayushriyam Yashodharmam Lokan Asisa Evacha Hanti Shreyam Si Sarvani Pumso Mahad Atikrama. Quote, when one mistreats great souls, his lifespan, opulence, reputation, religion, possessions, and good fortune are all destroyed. Text 5. Hiranyakashipu said, O most impudent, most unintelligent disruptor of the family, O lowest of mankind, you have violated my power to rule you, and therefore you are an obstinate fool. Today I shall send you to the place of Yamaraj. Yamaraj, that's where people go when they die. People who don't have devotional pious credit. And then Yamaraj he's like based on one's activities, he decides what's the next body and what planetary system, what species, like that. My son Prahlad, you rascal, you know that when I am angry, all the planets of the three worlds tremble, along with their chief rulers. By whose power has a rascal like you become so impudent that you appear fearless and overstep my power to rule you? So it's his rage. Like, again, he's actually achieved, like he's controlling all the great leaders of the planet and the universe. They fear him and they'll follow his instructions. He's controlling everything except his 5-year-old son. So it's like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So this is like, he's enraged, can't tolerate it. It's sometimes Prabhupada makes the point why when assessing the psychology of Hiranyakashipu, it's not, even if like Hiranyakashipu is like, I'm not going to chant Hare Krishna, you understand that you can chant Hare Krishna, I know what you're doing, whatever. But no, like not like, okay, you do your thing, but like he couldn't tolerate. Purport. The relationship between a pure devotee and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is extremely relishable. A devotee never claims to be very powerful himself. Instead, he fully surrenders to the lotus feet of Krishna, being confident that in all dangerous conditions, Krishna will protect his devotee. Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 31, Kvanteya Patjanihi Name Bhakta Pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare boldly that my devotee never perishes. The Lord requested Arjuna to declare this instead of declaring it himself, because sometimes Krishna changes his view, and therefore people might not believe him. Thus Krishna asked Arjuna to declare that a devotee of the Lord is never vanquished. Hiranyakashipu was perplexed about how his 5-year-old boy could be so fearless that he did not care for the order of his very great and powerful father. A devotee cannot execute the order of anyone except the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the position of a devotee. Hiranyakashipu could understand that this boy must have been very powerful, since the boy did not heed his orders. Hiranyakashipu asked his son, Kimbala, how have you overcome my order? By whose strength have you done this? Yes. Text 7. Prahlad Maharaj said, my dear king, the source of my strength of which you are asking is also the source of yours. Indeed, the original source of all kinds of strength is one. He is not only your strength or mine, but the only strength for everyone. Without him, no one can get any strength. Whether moving or not moving, superior or inferior, everyone, including Lord Brahma, is controlled by the strength of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Hiranyakashipu, where did you get this strength? Then again, Prahlad gave like the answer his father didn't want to hear. Oh, I got it from the same place as you, Krishna. Yeah, so not what he wanted to hear. The Supreme Personality of God, so Prahlad Maharaj is continuing, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Controller and Time Factor, is the power of the senses, the power of the mind, the power of the body, and the vital force of the senses. His influence is unlimited. He is the best of all living entities, the controller of the three modes of material nature. By his own power, he creates this cosmic manifestation, maintains it, and annihilates it also. Prahlad Maharaj continued, "My dear father, please give up your demoniac mentality. Do not discriminate in your heart between enemies and friends. Make your mind equipoised toward everyone. Except for the uncontrolled and misguided mind, there is no enemy within this world. When one sees everyone on the platform of equality, one then comes to the position of worshiping the Lord perfectly. In former times, there were many fools like you who did not conquer the six enemies that steal away the wealth of the body. These fools were very proud, thinking, I have conquered all enemies in all the 10 directions. But if a person is victorious over the six enemies and is equipoised towards all living entities, for him there are no enemies. Enemies are merely imagined by one in ignorance." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this material world, everyone thinks that he has conquered his enemies, not understanding that his enemies are his uncontrolled mind and five senses. Manasastani indriyani prakriti karshati. In this material world, everyone has become a servant of the senses. Originally, everyone is a servant of Krishna, but in ignorance one forgets this, and thus one is engaged in the service of Maya through lusty desires, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and jealousy. Everyone is actually dependent on the reactions of material laws, but still one thinks himself independent and thinks that he has conquered all directions. In conclusion, one who thinks that he has many enemies is an ignorant man, whereas one who is in Krishna consciousness knows that there are no enemies but those within oneself, the uncontrolled mind and senses. Text 11. Shri Hiranyakashipur Uvacha Vyaktam Tvam Martukamosi Yotimatram Vikatase Mumuvunam Himandatman Nanusyur Viklava Gira. Hiranyakashipu replied, You rascal, you are trying to minimize my value as if you were better than me at controlling the senses. This is over-intelligent. I can therefore understand that you desire to die at my hands, for this kind of nonsensical talk is indulged in by those about to die. O most unfortunate Prahlad, you have always described a supreme being other than me, a supreme being who is above everything, who is the controller of everyone, and who is all-pervading. But where is he? If he is everywhere, then why is he not present before me in this pillar? Because you are speaking so much nonsense, I shall now sever your head from your body. Now let me see your most worshipable God come to protect you. I want to see it. Being obsessed with anger, Hiranyakashipu, who was very great in bodily strength, thus chastised his exalted devotee son Prahlad with harsh words. Cursing him again and again, Hiranyakashipu took up his sword, got up from his royal throne, and with great anger struck his fist against the column. Then from within the pillar came a fearful sound which appeared to crack the covering of the universe. Oh, my dear Yudhisthira, this sound reached even the abodes of the demigods like Lord Brahma, and when the demigods heard it, they thought, oh, now our planets are being destroyed. While showing his extraordinary prowess, Hiranyakashipu, who desired to kill his own son, heard that wonderful tumultuous sound which had never before been heard. Upon hearing the sound, the other leaders of the demons were afraid. None of them could find the origin of that sound in the assembly. To prove that the statement of his servant Prahlad Maharaj was substantial, in other words, to prove that the Supreme Lord is present everywhere, even within the pillar of an assembly hall, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari exhibited a wonderful form never before seen. The form was neither that of a man nor that of a lion. Thus the Lord appeared in his wonderful form in the assembly hall. while Hiranyakashipu looked all around to find the source of the sound. That wonderful form of the Lord, which could not be ascertained to be either a man or a lion, emerged from the pillar. In amazement, Hiranyakashipu wondered, what is this creature that is half man and half lion? Hiranyakashipu studied the form of the Lord, trying to decide who the form of Nrsimhadeva standing before him was. The Lord's form was extremely fearsome because of his angry eyes, which resembled molten gold, his shining mane, which expanded the dimensions of his fearful face, his deadly teeth, and his razor-sharp tongue, which moved about like a dueling sword. His eyes were erect and motionless, and his nostrils and gaping mouth appeared like caves of a mountain. His jaws parted fearfully, and his entire body touched the sky. His neck was very short and thick, his chest broad, his waist thin, and the hairs on his body as white as the rays of the moon. His arms, which resembled flanks of soldiers, spread in all directions as he killed the demons, rogues, and atheists with his conch shell, disc, club, lotus, and other natural weapons. Hiranyakashipu murmured to himself, Lord Vishnu, who possesses great mystic power, has made this plan to kill me, but what is the use of such an attempt? Who can fight with me? Thinking like this and taking up his club, Hiranyakashipu attacked the Lord like an elephant. Just as a small insect falls forcefully into a fire and the insignificant creature becomes invisible, when Hiranyakashipu attacked the Lord, who was full of effulgence, Hiranyakashipu became invisible. This is not at all astonishing, for the Lord is always situated in pure goodness. Formerly, during creation, he entered the dark universe and illuminated it by his spiritual effulgence. Thereafter, the great demon Hiranyakashipu, who was extremely angry, swiftly attacked Nrsimhadeva with his club and began to beat him. Lord Nrsimhadeva, however, captured the great demon along with his club, just as Garuda might capture a great snake. O Yudhisthira, O great son of Bharat, when Lord Nrsimhadeva gave Hiranyakashipu a chance to slip from his hand, just as Garuda sometimes plays with a snake and lets it slip from his mouth, the demigods who had lost their abodes and who were hiding behind the clouds for fear of the demon did not consider that incident very good. Indeed, they were perturbed. When Hiranyakashipu was freed from the hands of Nrsimhadeva, he falsely thought that the Lord was afraid of his prowess. Therefore, after taking a little rest from the fight, he took up his sword and shield and again attacked the Lord with great force. Making a loud, shrill sound of laughter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan, who is extremely strong and powerful, captured Hiranyakashipu, who was protecting himself with his sword and shield, leaving no gaps open. With the speed of a hawk, Hiranyakashipu moved sometimes in the sky and sometimes on the earth, his eyes closed because of fear of Nrsimhadeva's laughter. As a snake captures a mouse or Garuda captures a very venomous snake, Lord Nrsimhadeva captured Hiranyakashipu, who could not be pierced even by the thunderbolt of King Indra. As Hiranyakashipu moved his limbs here, there, and all around, very much afflicted at being captured, Lord Nrsimhadeva placed the demon on his lap, supporting him with his thighs, and in the doorway of the assembly hall, the Lord very easily tore the demon to pieces with the nails of his hand. We'll read a bit more. Lord Nrsimhadeva's mouth and mane were sprinkled with drops of blood, and his fierce eyes, full of anger, were impossible to look at. Licking the edge of his mouth with his tongue, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nrsimhadeva, decorated with a garland of intestines taken from Hiranyakashipu's abdomen, resembled a lion that had just killed an elephant. Let's see, probably some. Okay, so some pictures. Let me. This one is the one that's on the altar, and this is the one that's coming up in a few pages. And then Prahlad approaches him. So, okay, let's see where we are. Text 31. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had many, many arms, first uprooted Hiranyakashipu's heart and then threw him aside and turned toward the demon soldiers. These soldiers had come in thousands to fight with him with raised weapons and were very faithful followers of Hiranyakashipu, but Lord Nrsimhadeva killed all of them merely with the ends of his nails. The hair on Nrsimhadev's head shook the clouds and scattered them here and there. His glaring eyes stole the effulgence of the luminaries in the sky, and his breathing agitated the seas and oceans. Because of his roaring, all the elephants in the world began to cry in fear. Hiranyakashipu had been exactly like a fever of meningitis in the head of the three worlds. Thus, when the wives of the demigods in the heavenly planets saw that the great demon had been killed by the personal hands of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, their faces blossomed in great joy. The wives of the demigods again and again showered flowers from heaven upon Lord Nrsimhadev like rain. At that time, the airplanes of the demigods who desired to see the activities of the Supreme Lord Narayan crowded the sky. The demigods began beating drums and kettle drums, and upon hearing them, the angelic women began to dance, while the chiefs of the Gandharvas sang sweetly. Okay, well, I'll pause there. That's kind of like the climax of the pastime, and then it goes on, and there's lots of prayers offered. So just if there's anything you want to share, comment, or ask at this time.
The only thing that occurs to me is for everyone to feel so relieved at his demise. How long did he reign? Like, how long was he?
Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Well, I don't have an exact answer for that, but that could be researched from the Bhagavatam. And well, for sure, by Earth year calculations, it would be like an extraordinarily long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, by Earth year calculations, it would, probably go into like tens of thousands of years. And maybe by demigod calculations, it would maybe be several years, like that. And yes, so, well, general principle is that this is inconceivable, this is far out, this is outrageous. But then it's described like, okay, so everyone enjoys like fighting pastimes, whether sport or it's like, it's the principle, like everything in this world is a shadow reflection of what exists in its pure form. So this is ghastly. This is horrific. It's like horror movie. Yeah, it's like, okay, so this is our altar, where we peacefully take shelter. And there's a picture there of someone's intestines being ripped out. Yeah, so who can understand that, right? that's it. So yeah, maybe I've shared, yeah. When a leading intellectual amongst the beatniks and hippies was named Allen Ginsberg. And he had been to India like in the early 60s. So when Prabhupada, started the first center in 1966 in the Lower East Side of New York, Allen Ginsberg came to the center, and he and Prabhupada became friends. And so Allen Ginsberg, he was a very famous personality, like a leader of the hippies sort of thing. And so he was interviewed in one of his interviews because he was asked about what is this Krishna consciousness? And Allen Ginsberg said, this Krishna consciousness, he said, it's more far out than any acid trip I've ever taken. Because everyone's into LSD and like that. This is just like, this just makes it kind of boring, go by comparison. Okay. And so, yeah, so how can we believe this? For me, it's the other way around. Okay, because well, one thing is like, we have pastimes around romance and fighting and adventure and friendship and, all the range of human activities. Okay, ourselves, we like to watch movies or read books about all these things. Okay, so if we're involved with these things, how can we deny that God is capable? Okay, and we would think that, in other words, like if the Supreme Personality of Godhead's pastimes were not trillions of times more amazing and incredible and outrageous and out of the box of my mind, more, than, let's say, just a Hollywood thriller. Well, that would be kind of disappointing. Right? We would expect that the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead would be far beyond whatever any human imagination can conceive. So for me, the outrageousness of it strengthens my trust that, okay, yeah, no Spielberg could conceive of such a thing. And just another aspect of this pastime is um, Krishna's Nrsimhadeva. He's keeping the word of his great devotee Brahma. Brahma is the engineer of the universe, and he's also the first spiritual master in our Sampradaya. We're familiar with the Brahma Samhita. So Brahma is the pure devotee, and Hiranyakashipu, in order to become powerful after performing so many intensive austerities, Hiranyakashipu, he got different boons or benedictions from Brahma, because Hiranyakashipu wanted to be immortal. So he got from the Brahma many benedictions. For example, that he won't be killed by any human or any animal. And yeah, exactly right. And he won't be killed in day or night. So that's why Nrsimhadeva's appearance is right at dusk. It's not day, it's not night. He's not a human, he's not an animal. He won't be killed in the sky or on the land. He was killed while on the lap. So there's like 10 things like that, where Krishna, through Nrsimhadeva incarnation, fulfills Brahma's promise, keeps that, and while protecting his devotee, Prahlad. Okay, so there was like 10 benedictions where Hiranyakashipu thought he had it legally all tied down, like that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, if this is the first time this form is observed and seen, do pastimes of this form like continue on? And are there other stories, or is it like after this event?
With Nrsimhadeva?
Mhm.
Yes. Okay, I appreciate the question. Yes. Well, when it says the first time seen, my understanding, like from those who were observing the demigods or the different the demon friends of Hiranyakashipu, like, yeah, they'd never seen like this. But actually, my understanding from Prabhupada's teachings is that, like Krishna, Lord Nrsimhadeva also, he appears once in a day of Brahma, which is about every 8 billion, yes, about every 8,600,000,000 years. So he appears once in a day of Brahma. It gets into the Vedic astronomy and cosmology. And so, and that's in our universe. So like right now, Lord Nrsimhadeva is appearing somewhere. And he's ripping the intestines out of Hiranyakashipu. So, so there's many, many universes. It's described like the sun. So like right now it's 8:48 a.m. And okay, but then somewhere the sun is high in the sky and it's noon, whatever, Japan or something. Somewhere it's 2 a.m. And so here, let's say 9 a.m. Well, 9 a.m. will be gone. What's going to be 9 a.m. somewhere? So similarly, somewhere, yeah, Krishna is in some material universe, enacting his pastimes, playing with the cowherd boys, dancing with the gopis. So just like the sun. So let's say when it becomes 10 p.m., the sun is gone. The sun's not gone. Just the sun's not manifest to our vision. So Lord Nrsimhadeva is always there and performing his pastimes. And this, about once every 8.6 billion years, the pastimes are manifest to the inhabitants of a particular universe.
Mm.
Okay, then there's the spiritual world where there's Lord Nrsimhadeva has his planet, and that's eternal.
Mm.
So the pastimes are eternal, sometimes manifest, sometimes not manifest according to our vision.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Lord Nrsimhadeva ki.
Jai.
Sri Prahlad Maharaj ki.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.